Hey guys, Mike here. So we got a big day ahead of us tomorrow, obviously with NVDA earnings, which we're going to talk about, okay, for sure. But we did have some stuff going on today like Tesla, SMCI, some others you guys requested me to talk about. So I'm going to talk about those as well, going into Shop, some others. As well as I want to really start off, just get into it with this right here. Obviously, you know, breadth and sentiment mean a lot in the market, as you've seen, right? No matter what's going on, stuff is burning down around us, but if breadth and sentiment are good, doesn't even matter, okay? And so, as I told members this morning, watch out for this right here, because now, when you look at these fear and greed indexes, right? These are something I give to the members every day. Now they've synced up, right? They were way apart, like 30 points apart, but now both of them are in greed, high 60s, okay? So as I told them, I will be keeping a close eye on the rise of the fear and greed index numbers. When they both get in sync like they are now and start hitting in the 70s, that usually spells trouble. Obviously, the more extreme the numbers get, the bigger the pullback. Normally, this could take weeks, even months. Make sure you understand that very clearly. Just something I'm going to be watching out for. That is key. Now, talking about breadth also, what are you seeing with these equal weight ETFs, okay? You got QQEW, it's red today, RSP's red today, even though S&P and QQQ are green, right? Because the big boys are doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. But when you look, they're kind of just in a range, right? When you look at RSP, they're just camped out. They're not setting all-time highs. Again, this one's been a range even longer. But, you know, if these start to move and then start to break all-time highs, right? There's nothing bearish about what it's looking at here. Then that's going to help push this market up. So it helped to push back if you look when it started going back up in May. All right, now I will say something that the SPX really nothing to report there, still in the same range. QQQ is just butting up against the midline of that channel. It's in the same kind of channel the S&P is in, and the reason why it's really important is somebody asked me to get above that line, because you can see I'm going to drag this line back here. Same thing was happening back here. It kept butting up against the midline, but when it breaks above it, there's like an explosion, okay? And then it started. Then of course it needs to hold it, right? So then what it do? Just kept bouncing higher and higher, and when we lost it, boom, down to the bottom we go. Okay, so that's why it's important to get past that. Now, there has to be a timeline for it, but you'd like to see it this week at least. Now, NVIDIA, coming up tomorrow, right? What happened? This trend line held again today. It bounced, took back off, right? If it sold off a little bit. And again, they're expecting like an 8% move, it's like 7.5% move, was 10. So somewhere from 835, 850 down. If it happens to go above on this right here, obviously this is the options market expecting this right here. Actually, I'm going to redo that. Probably like 854 to 875, somewhere in there. But if you go above that, you know, you're talking anywhere from 1,020 to 1,050. Put in the bottom of your predictions. I apologize, it's starting to rain here. I'll try to filter that noise out, but well, I live in Florida, so it's going to start raining a lot here. Again, so anywhere from 1,020 to 1,050 if it pops above that. And obviously go, if they want to kill premiums, they can do what it did 2 of the last 5 times and not move at all, right? Now just crush premiums, because these options are extremely expensive if you're doing just straight leg options, buying a call or a put, right? But the one thing I need you to do is make sure, if you're in a trading view account or whatever you're using, okay, is to have something clicked, okay? We talked about this yesterday. PanW reported what happened. It gaps down right there. You cannot have RTH on. Okay, you have to click on that box right there. Why? Because you don't get the full picture. You're looking at it going, wait a minute, how come it sucked up today? You go to extended trading hours because it hit the trend line. It came into support and hit the trend line, right? Right there, you have to have ETH. Okay, this is when the big boys are operating. All these institutions, when they're buying, they did the same thing to Meta, right? And so that's what happened. Same thing happened over here. All right, so you have to make sure you have that on, or you'll be like, man, why is this thing going up? Because what they do is, this has been the theme of this earnings season. As I was telling members, man, they're selling them down because their earnings weren't bad at all. Meta's earnings weren't bad, but they don't want to buy up here, right? So they sell them down, then start buying it up in after hours, okay? And then, of course, when the market opens, for mostly where everybody else is at, because a lot of retail aren't in pre-market or after hours, then they let retail start doing a lot of the heavy lifting too, and they start flooding in, right? And so that's what you see. That's the theme of this earnings season so far. So you can see the same thing with NVIDIA. They can come out, do good earnings, drop it like a rock on that big red candle, and then you start seeing it bought up, right? Just look for support and everything to get hit, and bam, it can go. So that could happen. Just keep that in mind, okay? Now, looking at another one to watch out for. We already talked about this, the SMCI, obviously breaking out of one wedge, then coming down to more of a bull flag right here. So this will depend on NVIDIA, okay? If it breaks above this right here, you're going to be looking around. At first, really, the level you're going to be looking at is not going to be 1100 right there. It's going to be right around 1023, and then that could go to 1100. So just keep that in mind. If NVIDIA obviously gets crushed and they disappoint, well, this one's probably heading straight down, going to stay right there in that channel. So watch out for that. But it's a big mover. All right, you might notice Tesla here, obviously big green candle, and this was a lot of news coming out for Tesla. They were really pushing the news hard right here, and what we got here is 3 different things. One, they end up raising on the 72-month loan the interest rate, so that of course rake in more money because they sell a whole lot of cars in the stock market like that. The biggest one though was this one right here, PepsiCo to expand EV fleet in California. So supposedly they're going to buy 50 Class 8 semi trucks, which is a good thing. And then of course this was interesting. It came out later on where they said now that GameStop and AMC have faded, what are the biggest stocks being talked about when it comes to Wall Street bets? Well, Tesla is one of them. So might not be a very big surprise at all that is happening, since Tesla kind of moves like a meme stock sometimes. But you might notice it ran into the 100 moving average and resistance area, right? You can see when it hits that 100 with resistance combined, it gets rejected quite often, okay? Quite often over the last year, year and a half right there. But when it actually breaks through it, you get to see an explosive move. So what to find out tomorrow if that's going to be the case. But you can see right here, that's a 10% move after it breaks through this right here of that confluence with the 100 moving average and the resistance. Again, that was just a massive move. Here's another 10% move. And so that's really what you're looking at when it comes to Tesla. Again, the news has to wear off. That's what was going on, because it was funny. They kept pumping that PepsiCo story every 2 hours. They would just put it out there. Anytime there was any kind of waning momentum, they would just keep pumping it out, right? So again, we'll see if it does break through. Obviously, that trend line is going to be the next one. That sits around 198 right there. Now Shopify, this one right here, just sitting there with no momentum in it, right? Still holding this trend line, which is important. That trend line goes pretty dang far back. So far, it has held that. And so, like I said, and I've been saying this forever, until it was the MACD, right? Getting above the 0 line, which is a total fake out when you get the big moves here. But obviously, the trend line needs to hold. You can see the momentum. I mean, there's basically nothing there right now, okay? There's nothing there. You got to have the turn up, got to have volume and stuff start coming in this thing, and you just don't really see that right now. But the fact it's still holding the trend line, yeah, I mean, of course, that's important for sure. And we'll bring up a few other things. Let's bring up the RSI on this thing. You can see, obviously, sitting down in the dumps right there. But you do see on the smaller time frames some bullish divergence, right, sitting there. And you know, the RSI is heading in the right direction. But again, you guys start getting over the 50 on this thing, really to start having the moves, okay? And again, it just doesn't have that going on. And then we bring up the MACD. You can see, I mean, this thing on the daily, woo, way down there, right? I mean, oh my goodness. So even to wait for that to get across the 0 line would probably take forever unless it got some huge amount of momentum. Like I said, you look in the past, when it comes across the 0 line, not just the bullish MACD cross below 0, you get the big moves. And then it faked out right there, didn't come across it, folded back over. And so on the bullish MACD cross, you should get some move up, but the bigger ones are really going to come when this thing gets above the 0 line. You can see there's still a huge gap right there. The risk on that downtrend line is it's setting in a gap. You see if it drops below that trend line, how it's going to fill that gap. Then, you know, that's the big thing. The moving averages, no help. It's below all the moving averages. The 50s across the 100 down, right? 200 starting to turn over. So as I said, this thing needs to get going if it's going to get going, okay? Now, you might notice Chinese stocks down today, and I think most of them were kind of red yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of the day for sure. Now, of course, they say this because of news, right? If you look over here, they go, hey, Hang Seng under pressure at finish because they're not happy with them talking about bailing out the houses. And Fitch goes on to basically, you know, level this out or whatever, but talking about that. And so, you know, but the truth is, let's look at this chart. You think we need a pullback? I mean, look at that. Good Lord. Yeah, that needs a pullback, okay? You need some consolidation. You need to come back into some kind of support area and try to hold that for sure. You look over, that would be a nice support area right there, right? We hadn't reached it yet. I mean, it has to reach it, but that would be a nice support area if it's going to do it and continue higher, because that's how stocks move, right? That's straight up incline right there. When you look at that crazy move, you kind of see the same thing here, but guess what? That's how stocks move. So if you look at it, you go up, little pullback down, up, maybe another pullback down, and then you get to see if we bounce from there to continue higher, right? Or it's going to be another sell-off in Chinese ADR. That's really what you got to watch out for sure. But yeah, I think that's a well-deserved pullback. I think it needs to pull back even more. Now, Palantir is another one, right? Very popular name like Shopify. sitting there right below the 100. Again, you got a lot of confluence right there with the trend line, the bottom of this channel right here, and the 200 right below. It cannot break that level. Okay, that's around like 1850, I believe, because that would be disastrous for it. But it's just another one that just doesn't have the momentum right now. Is it waiting on NVIDIA too, right, for an AI play? Maybe that's what it's waiting on. Right now, it's just consolidating sideways, right? And so that's what we got to watch out for. The moving averages don't look very good on it, though. I'll say you that much. But again, you can see the stochastic, right? Just sitting on the weakest is going to the area you don't want to be in. You want to get a turn up. All right, you go to the daily, you had bullish crosses, then you had a bearish cross back down. So again, it's just another one of those stocks. It moves on news, it moves on momentum. It does not have either one at this point in time, okay? And so we got to watch out for that. I already said if it breaks that level, especially breaks all the confluence level, watch out for 13.50, 14 bucks. Now, Bitcoin obviously continues to push up, busted out of this channel right here. This is all in the news, of course, of Ethereum, which we talked about yesterday. And if we pull up the weekly, I mean, you can see, it's got room to run if it wants to run. But when you look at Ethereum's candle, you go, oh, yeah, I think we know what this is about, right? It's about these ETFs. And so, I mean, that is two huge daily candles, obviously big moves, breaking above another key level right there. And I mean, when you look out on this thing, again, we'll pull up the news. We got some more news out today where they're saying the SEC, if I'm not mistaken, let me pull it up for you. Right here. Yeah, SEC inches closer to approving ETFs, what you need to know. And, again, this is one of those buy the news or buy the rumor, sell the news, whatever. But what they did was the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission has reportedly asked NASDAQ and CBOE to look in their applications and link to the listing of spot Ether exchange traded funds ETFs. This communication signals a possible approval that can mark another crypto industry win. SEC making final moves. And we pull over here. I don't know if you remember this candle right here back in the day, around October 12th, 13th right here. And this was the start of this big run up, which of course what happened? Same kind of thing, right? They think, oh, look, they're going to maybe approve these Bitcoin ETFs, right? And of course you get the big move up. This day right here, remember this one? We end up dropping, I believe it was like over 20% right here in the next like couple weeks. And of course, what happened? That was after this gigantic run up we'd had, which I think measures out, what is that? Like 63%. Well, of course, what happened is the Bitcoin ETFs actually got approved, right? And they dropped down into support, as you can see right there. January 10th, 2024, which is a good thing. So if you go to ETH, who knows what's going to happen? Because if they get approved even sooner, you're not going to see anything like that. But again, if it was a move like that kind of move, you got to break these next levels. If you look to the left, you can see them right there. But I mean, that would put it right around 5,000 exactly if it moved like, Bitcoin, not saying it's going to or anything. But again, you can kind of project out. It depends on how long they take because, stuff will run on rumors all day long or speculation. And then, of course, we'll see what happens if they actually get approved. We get that big drop down. But it depends on how fast they actually approve these things. So let me know what you think down the bottom and stuff. But when you look at, stuff going on tomorrow, earnings, obviously there's one big earnings we're looking at. But there are some others, right? Again, big retailers like Target, they just dropped a bunch of prices on, I think, like 5,000 products. But, of course, it's all about NVIDIA. You'll have Snowflake, Elf coming in the afternoon. And then when it comes to news, you'll finally get some news, right? You'll have existing home sales and FOMC minutes in the afternoon. But again, I think it's all going to be about NVIDIA in the afternoon and the AI king it is and stuff. So we'll see how they report. Let me know your prediction and stuff in the bottom. And again, I'll be here to, let us know what happened and stuff. Again, we need to get above the middle line on the SPX. And the Qs this week would be really nice to start seeing the momentum continue to the upside. And of course, we'll see what crypto does as well. So have a good one, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.